and I have.
Hello, hello, hello. As promised, I am on Zoom with our special guest, Dr. Valencia Agnew, and I appreciate your understanding in my inability to really work with some of the technical things. I will keep working at it. Like I said, get somebody younger in there to help me figure it out, and then we'll keep things rolling. But tonight we have the best guest. I am excited. I am so excited. We were together in Grand Rapids for how many years? I can't remember how many. Was it?
I know it was 13 years ago,
Hmm.
13, 14 years ago.
Okay.
I first met you, but I don't
Right,
know
right.
how long.
How long? Unfortunately, we weren't in Grand Rapids a really long time. Loved it. Oh, Randy is saying 2 years. I loved living in Grand Rapids, but life, jobs, that kind of thing made us have to move on. But I am so happy. I am so proud of you. You have gone above and beyond what anybody could ever imagine. I don't even know if what that means, but necessarily. But Dr. Valencia Agnew, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing really well, and I'm excited about the opportunity to discuss our topic tonight and hopefully um, shed some insights or some tools that will be helpful for your audience. Anytime I can help and that it supports people to be a better version of themselves, it's like, yes, count me in.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So just real briefly, because I know the questions that I have to ask could probably open up to a lot because mental health is such a broad conversation to have. But what made you get started in your field? What encouraged you to do that?
Well, truthfully, I think I've always, as long as I can remember, I've always been the person that people could come to with things, and that it was always important to me to meet the needs of others and be supportive. And then I decided in high school that I was going to major in psychology, and I started taking in classes in high school. I would write papers on things that were related to mental health, and I actually at that point thought, oh my gosh, I am such a crier, probably can't do this. Like, I'm going to be in sessions crying. This is breaking my heart when I hear about struggles that people have. And at the time, my older sister, she was taking some classes in college in accounting, and I always helped her with accounting. It's like, I'm good at math. There's no crying there. I'm I'm gonna do math. But while I was working on my business degree, I was still taking some psychology classes because it was still an interest to me, though I didn't think I could do it because I was a crier. I
Okay.
went on to get my degree in business and worked as an accountant. I was a junior controller,
Wow.
and it was actually at a retreat, a women's, maybe it was a church retreat, maybe it was a women's retreat, I think, in Muncie that I went to. And I'm sitting in service at the end of the retreat, and I cannot make this up, on my best day, I'm sitting there, and it seemed like it was an audible voice to me that said, you should be doing therapy. This is go
Wow.
back to
Wow.
school, do therapy. And I'm sitting there, I kind of look around like, did anybody else hear that? And then I hear it again, and I turned, like I looked behind me, like
Hmm.
somebody
Hmm.
else, surely somebody else hears this.
Hmm.
People, no one looks like they heard anything. This is just a conversation with me and God.
Right.
And after that retreat, on the way back home, I was with my mom and one of the ladies who had gone with us. And I said to them, this is what I think I heard. And I'm not really sure. Like, because like I get paid pretty well doing accounting.
Yeah.
and go back to school. Like, why would I be working on another degree? And, and so I'm looking for their feedback, some support, some sympathy,
Mhm.
mostly some sympathy.
Right, right.
And my mom says to me, she goes, "Well, you know what? His word says, um, his sheep know his voice, and another they will not
Will not
follow."
follow. That's right. That's
She goes,
right.
"So I guess if you're his, you know if you heard his voice." And I'm just like, you know what? That is not the answer I was
It's
looking for,
not what I
mom.
wanted to hear, Mom.
Not what I wanted to hear. But I did. I went back home. I took the steps necessary to go back to school. I went back to school and got my master's in counseling psychology, and then later went back to school and got my doctorate in clinical psychology. So
Wow.
that was an interesting little journey, but the way that I see it is that we make plans and God just kind of chuckles because he knew that one day I was going to own my own practice.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I thought I was doing my own thing by going and getting a degree in business, but I
Mm,
didn't realize that one day I was going to need that degree in business to help me run a successful business. And
right.
and so, he's got jokes. That's just what I say. Like,
I
God,
believe he
got
laughs.
jokes.
I think he laughs at us all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say it is with that heart. I believe that's the heart of God, that tender heart, because we have enough cold-blooded people in this world, and we don't need to hear their opinions on things. And I'll leave that at that. Well,
Mhm.
let's get started in our questions.
Okay.
And if whatever direction you want this to go in, I am perfectly fine with that. Like I said, I think this is a very important subject that needs to be heard and discussed, especially in the Black community or African American community, because we are always, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, and we don't want to go to doctors or therapists or anything like that. So I want, hopefully this will help shed some light on some things. Okay, we are going to be talking about couples counseling. And so my first question is, when counseling couples, what is the most common issue you have dealt with or experienced?
So there's a wide range of issues, and I thought about some, knowing that we were going to discuss this, what are some of the issues? And people come in for a variety of reasons,
Mhm.
but usually by the time they make it to the office with me, they've had years of issues.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and so people don't usually come in because it's like, "You know what? I have a great marriage and I just wanna tweak it."
yeah.
Or, "Yeah, we had a couple of months, things weren't going well, so let's just go in and work on it." Though I encourage that, that's
Hmm.
not normally what I see. Normally, it's been years of, poor communication and connection, like a lack of connection. There's been a lack of trust, a breach
Oh,
in
wow.
trust in
Okay.
some ways,
Hmm.
and a breach in trust does not always mean that there's infidelity.
Right.
Sometimes there is infidelity,
Mhm.
but there's many ways to breach trust within a relationship where someone feels betrayed, because if they're trusting you and looking for you to be the person that's there for them, and then you don't at the worst possible time, it can cause a breach in trust.
Okay.
There can be a lack of intimacy, infidelity. Quite frequently, what I will see are people that have hurts that haven't been healed, that have
Mm,
been piled one upon the other, upon the other. Maybe one of the spouses didn't apologize, wasn't there, wasn't supportive, and then minimized it, and it really be a breach in that relationship, and it causes a tear, and a
mm,
tear that maybe could have been mended, but it didn't get mended. They just kept going like it was nothing. And so I see a lot of those where the hurts have built up,
mm.
and
Okay.
then it's like now we're at this point where we need some help or we're going to part ways. So wounds, sometimes it's someone's just unhappy. And it can be that that person is unhappy because maybe they're going through their own depression. Maybe they're having some life events. It could be work related or losses that they've experienced, and they're really unhappy. And they can't be in the marriage the way that they maybe normally would have been,
Okay.
or that they don't realize the cycles of relationships, because it's I think it's easy to say I do,
Yeah.
but it takes work to stay married. It's you have to be deliberate and intentional
Hmm.
to stay married, because you're not going to like the person you're married to every single moment of every single day. And
That's true.
so if you don't pay attention to those things, you can just end up with a bunch of wounds. And
Wow.
then sometimes there's substance abuse in
Mm,
relationships.
okay. Okay.
And those can obviously cause major issues, and things like
Hmm.
withholding in a relationship, like when contempt for another person starts, you have enough hurt. And in therapy, the way, like a training that I did, we
Man.
discussed that contempt
Hmm.
as like pouring battery acid on love, that it just
Wow.
erodes at it, because now you are disgusted by that person. Now you can't stand them. It's like, ugh, I can't stand the air that you breathe. Don't want to
Wow.
do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And so those are just some of the examples
Wow.
of what can happen in
Hmm.
relationships. And when withholding starts, it may be that I have the ability to do something that would make you happy, but I choose not to do it because you know what? I don't like you. I
Oh,
don't care
wow.
about you. I don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know this is what you need, but I'm not gonna do it. And
Wow.
obviously that erodes a relationship.
Right. Right. Wow. There's a number of things that you mentioned that I was like, yeah, I've heard of that, but just basically withholding yourself, and not just sexually, but just
Mhm.
conversation or whatever. I had
Yeah,
never thought about that. Okay, I'm not going to get started talking. You and I might have to talk on a different, not about my marriage, but maybe anyway. Okay, so the next the next question, Randy's over here laughing. When
yeah.
talking
Darren
about
would be laughing too. Like, yeah, I don't care.
yeah, we'll be fine. When talking about mental wellness in a marital relationship, what does that really look like? I mean, you kind of covered some things, but what does it really look like? How do they get well after the stuff you just mentioned? What is a good way to mend that?
Well, first I want to say what wellness looks like. Here's just a very brief snapshot of what wellness looks like. And that is comfort with each other. So I don't mean
Okay.
tolerance of each.
Hmm.
That's not the same thing as comfort with each other. And it's not the same as being stuck with each other. So what may be wonderful in your marriage that looks like comfort with each other could be distress to my marriage. So it depends on, like, you knowing each other and being able to be comfortable with each other, that there's just things that it's like, he always leaves his glass sitting there, and you not feel like I want to file for divorce because you left your glass sitting there.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
it's more of, that doesn't even phase me. But someone who might be a perfectionist, a little OCD, needs to have the house perfect,
Right.
that might be a little bit harder for
Okay.
them to tolerate. So when I say comfort with each other, that means what you have identified that is comfort within your
Hmm.
relationship. That there's some things that my husband is really okay with me doing, doesn't
Hmm.
phase him at all. That maybe if I were married to someone else, they would not be okay with it. We're
Okay.
comfortable in how we do it.
Right, right, right.
Comfort, it's having the ability to talk, because conflict will come up, And the true masters of relationships know how to communicate and talk through conflict. Doesn't mean that they always agree.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that they're skipping through the tulips afterwards. It means they know how to have those conversations when there's a gridlock and still have respect for each other,
Wow.
even though there's a gridlock. And
Mhm.
and we say masters know how to do it, disasters do not. And masters don't have it perfected because we only do it a certain percentage of time, even the masters, maybe 25% of the time, but that still makes them a master being able to do it.
Mhm. Wow.
Um, Also, uh, love maps. We call it the sound relationship house. And with the sound relationship house, there are different levels with it, like thinking of
Mhm.
it as a house.
Okay.
And the walls of the house is trust and commitment. If you don't trust each other and you don't have commitment, the house is not really going to stand. You got to have some walls.
Okay.
And then the foundation of it, of with mental wellness, it includes love maps. And love maps is just how well you know each other. Do you know
Mm.
friends? Do you know what's stressing your spouse right now? Do you know what their biggest fear is right now? Do you know what their health is like? It's love maps. How well do you know and support each other? So you know that there's a level of health when that's there, and
Mhm.
you have to have a foundation and the walls to build upon. So if you don't have the love maps, if you don't have a solid foundation,
Mhm.
things are going to be shaky.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that, then how do you have the next level, which is a shared fondness and admiration for each other?
Mm. Okay.
That there's just like, he's so smart at that, or he's really good at that, or I
Wow.
really appreciate that about you. Because that's the opposite of contempt. When you can't
Mhm.
stand someone,
Yeah.
there's nothing you really like about them, versus when you admire your spouse, you admire that, that he is a man of God who will
Mhm.
go to battle for you in
Right.
prayer,
Right.
or
Right.
that will, even if it's someone in the audience that, what, they're not church people, but guess what? You appreciate when your spouse is willing to stand up for you and
Right.
not just stand by and let someone walk all over you.
Mhm.
You can have like an admiration and a fondness for them. Like, yeah, yep, that's
That's
my
my man. I
uh-huh.
like it.
Yep. Yes. You appreciate that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it can be things like, it can be other areas of fondness that you have that you just appreciate. I really appreciate that when my husband gets gas. Like yesterday I got in the car and it was full, and I thought, "Huh, I don't even know when he filled the tank. I don't even know when the gas was low.
Mhm.
I am oblivious to this because he just does that for me.
That's
It's
sweet. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
always gas. So
Mhm.
I appreciate that I'm thought of that way. Like that
Right.
matters to me. And then the other is turning you in healthy relationships.
Mhm.
When there's mental wellness, you're turning towards each other rather than away from each other.
Wow.
That doesn't mean physically you turn toward each other, but emotionally, you recognize bids for connection. So, for example, if you were saying, gosh, Randy, I'm really concerned about what's going on in the community right now, the world
Mhm.
right now, and it's stressing me. And he's sitting there with his newspaper and he's like, "Yeah, did you hear about that accident last week?" And you're like, "So, yeah, I kind of was telling you how stressed I am."
Right.
And
Right.
then that would have been a missed bid for connection. Or,
Mm. Okay.
um, or maybe it's, I really wish we had a family night. Do you think we could watch a movie together tonight?
Mhm.
And maybe, if Darren says, "Sure, we can watch a movie tonight. I'm gonna take a nap. I'll be back up." and then he doesn't come back up. If he doesn't
Okay.
come back up, that was a missed bid for connection. So,
Okay.
but when someone isn't mentally healthy themselves, let's say if a spouse is depressed or a lot of
Mhm.
anxiety, stressed at work or something, none of us are perfect. It's
Right.
easy to miss a bid for connection,
Hmm.
but when there's wellness, you're catching those bids more often than not.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
And then I already said, like, being able to manage conflict.
Hmm.
When there's mental wellness, it's easier to manage conflict. Even when we're physically ill, it's so much harder to manage conflict.
Hmm.
It's like everything. You know those commercials that say, "This is the person when they haven't had their Snickers yet."
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they act like this. You're just not yourself when you haven't had your
Right.
Snickers. Well,
Right.
when you're not mentally well,
Hmm.
depressed, anxious, stressed, overwhelmed,
Wow. Wow.
you may think that you are being every bit as attentive and present as you normally are, even in parenting. But the truth of the matter is, you are not. It is not even possible to be present the same way you would be when you're emotionally
Mm.
well.
Okay.
So
That
those
makes sense.
can not be able to manage conflict or having positive perspectives.
Hmm.
So maybe if my husband said something and I might laugh and say, "Oh my gosh," like, and he's always saying something and I probably harass him a whole lot more than he harasses me. And he just will crack up and laugh about something,
Hmm.
or he'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, that's kind of true. Yep, I know it is." And but he doesn't see it from as coming from a negative perspective.
Mm, okay.
So when there's a positive perspective, that means that when your spouse says something, you
Hmm.
assume the best. You
Okay.
assume they mean the best versus the worst.
Wow. Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
go to, "They meant to hurt me. I know it. You meant to hurt me. You said that just
Wow.
because you wanna go for the jugular." It's
Hmm. Hmm.
first assume the best, but that can happen when you're emotionally, mentally well, and even when you're well, it doesn't mean we always perfect it.
Right.
Masters of relationships do it more often. They don't perfect it and do it all the time.
Wow.
They just do it more often. And then creating shared meanings. Shared
Mm. Okay.
meanings is like shared rituals and things that you come up with that you have for your family.
Hmm.
Know, I think about early in our marriage, a shared ritual was having dinner with my mom every Sunday. We all had dinner, and Vincent, my oldest, would like we try and get away from it, and it's like, oh no, I need to have dinner with moms or
Love
grandma.
it. I
And
love it.
so
I
that
love it.
was a shared ritual for us.
Hmm.
And it is still a shared ritual that on Sundays, it's like, what are we gonna do for dinner? Where are we going for dinner? The plan is that we're all gonna be together for dinner. And because we're a sports family, we also have to identify during football season, where can we eat that we will be sure to be home in time for the
For the
football.
game. Okay.
Yes, because that's
Makes
part of
sense.
our
Makes
shared
sense. Yeah.
ritual is
Yeah.
this is
Wow.
what we do as a family, and that's important to us. Or things like going to the movies, that we go together as a family to the movies.
Hmm.
That means a lot to me. And if everyone can't say doesn't want to go, for me personally, it means my feelings are hurt. Like, because this is what we all do together.
Right.
So it means a lot to have that kind of ritual.
Hmm.
It could be a Christmas ritual, a holiday ritual, something that your family does that it's just this is our thing, and so we do that. And then important one is making life dreams come true
Oh
for
my.
each other.
Okay.
Because when you're making each other's dreams come true, you're forward thinking. You're thinking about the future. you're not planning for divorce, thinking about how this person makes you sick. You got to have some compassion for them. Like
Hmm.
there's something, even on a day that you don't like them, that you're still able to want to see each other's dreams come to pass or have a dream for them. I have a dream for my husband that he doesn't even have, that it's not his dream. He doesn't dream that for me to have for him.
Hmm.
I heard, I think Tabitha Brown say one time that she was retiring her husband. And since then, I've been telling my husband, it's like, I'm going to retire you. You just wait. I'm going to make this money and I'm going to retire you. I'm going to say, you retired because I retired you. But the reason why that sounds wonderful to me,
Hmm.
and, and I'll try not to get all too tearful and everything about it.
Hmm.
But when I wanted to start my private practice, he was the first person to say, you do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he shared in that dream with me,
Hmm.
not knowing whether we would make money, I would make money or not make money, knowing that I had to lease office space, and he really supported me in that dream, and it continues to support me
Wow.
in that
Yeah.
dream,
Yeah.
and
That
continues to support me in my dreams. So he doesn't have some big major dream. So I dream out loud for him, and I
love it.
get excited about, this is the dream that I'm going to accomplish for you. You just wait and see. And then he's like, "Well, don't retire me too soon because, I like working and I want to, like, I don't know what I would do with free time." And so it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, 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 I'm going to retire you. You just wait.
I
And
love it.
and
I
then you
love
get
it.
to tell all your family, yeah, guess what? My wife retired me.
So I
That
get to
just,
see.
uh,
I'm a kept
might be
fan.
overshare,
I
but
love that.
that is like sharing dreams, helping
Hmm.
each other with dreams. So
Wow. Wow. That is
so that's
fantastic.
what that is, like a snapshot of what wellness looks like.
Okay. We are, I'll tell you, this is really good. I have these boxes that I'm checking or notes I'm making in my own mind. There's no way we are going to be able to get finished with all this, unfortunately. But um, I'm just going to let you talk about what you feel couples need to do. I mean, you've already given us, and I hope people are making little notes. And tell us what couples need to do to really be, and I hesitate in using the word happy because it's just that's like happenstance, but to really be satisfied and enjoy being in their relationship.
Yeah, connection, to
Okay.
feel connected. And what everyone really wants is to be seen and heard. That at the end of the day, we all want to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
And that's to know that we matter. And
Hmm.
the way that couples can do that is just by having conversations.
Okay.
Life gets busy, and especially if you're a parent and you have kids at home, life gets busy. There's all of these things to do, all of the demands on us.
Yeah.
And it's nice when we can slow it down without demands on each other and just have time to check in. Just being able to check in. How are you doing?
Wow.
You
I
know,
love it.
what needs do you have that aren't being met? Is there something that I could do for you that you would just feel special, that you would feel like you matter today? I
Yeah.
just want to take time and love on you. What
Yeah.
would that look like? And challenging each other to come up with something, because when you are content in a marriage, it is harder to come up with something. It's like, I don't know, keep doing what you've been doing.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's part of you yourself,
Hmm.
your commitment to your marriage, to your relationship, is for you to look at what your need is in it and to ask for that need to be met. And for each other to just check in with each other. As I
Hmm.
said, I like movies. I like having family time. COVID being all trapped at the house together was, I kind of liked that part because
Yeah,
we were
I
all
did too.
trapped together.
You-
So I kind of
yeah,
liked that. And it's like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, I got like trapped audience here. What are we gonna watch? I'll make you some popcorn.
I love it. I love it.
But that's a need of mine. And if we had a conversation, I would be able to say, you know what, we haven't done that in a while, and that's something that I want. So
Yeah,
checking in with each other to see how are we doing emotionally. Is there something that you haven't talked about? And I like saying that you haven't talked about that you should be talking
should be
about.
talking about. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
That
Okay.
maybe you would say, just let it go. It's not that big of a deal. I was really stressed at work and it's not anything to really talk about. But you know what? When you're connecting with someone, that's how you connect. And
Okay.
how can they see you and hear you if you don't tell them, if you
Yeah,
don't share that part of yourself and be vulnerable in the relationship? Because that's also how you build trust is
yeah,
by being vulnerable. And then that person takes what you shared and never uses it against you and
yeah.
uses it to support you and build you up and help you. That creates admiration for that person.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you just heard me share my ugliest feelings right now. And you didn't say, whew, well, you're not going to heaven with that one. You better pray some more. Or, oh my gosh, that is horrible. But to just
Yeah.
be there with you in it creates that connection
Wow.
that that you just get in a very different way. And
Yeah,
and those things are important to remember. And they
yeah.
may seem like little things, but think about every friendship that you've ever built that
Mm-hmm.
better.
Mm-hmm.
It is all of those little things that made it a solid relationship. And it also makes it when someone messes up, as they surely will,
Yeah,
because I have not been perfect, that there's times when it's like you probably are so sick of me right now.
yeah,
But when you have that commitment, the house with the trust and commitment, that those are things that allow you to say, you know what, we still got this.
yeah.
It's like we're still good. It This situation might not be so good, but I still trust you. Like
Right, right.
that didn't change the admiration. It just means I have an attitude right now.
Oh,
And my attitude will go away. But my trust is going to stay
yeah,
because of all of these things that we've done to build it.
yeah. Wow, that's great. So I'm hearing connection, communication. I love it. I absolutely love it. You were talking, and I thought about you when you said something about friendship, I think it was. And I think about how we are as little children. It's so simple. You don't have the stresses of life and all the different things going on. It's just a basic, I like you, I don't like you, you were mean to me. I'm sorry. So it's just, I think maybe if we would all return to being childlike in some instances, I think that might do something to help us.
Well, the foundations that I talked about with the love maps, there's
Hmm.
activities that we do in sessions that's just love maps. And really, to me, it is exactly what you said. It's like childhood. What's your
Wow.
favorite color? What do you
Hmm.
want to be when you grow up? How are you feeling about your career direction? If you
Hmm.
could have a big girl toy, big boy toy, what would be the toy you would have? If you could live somewhere, where would you want to live? What's our dream for the rest of our life? All those things that
Wow.
little kids
Hmm.
just ask as little kids, like, what's your
Yeah,
favorite color?
I love
Who's
it.
your best friend?
Mhm.
They usually name off like 20 people, but,
But at
you
least
know,
they, yeah, yeah.
uh-huh.
Well, Dr. Agnew, this has been absolutely great. Hopefully, we can do a part two at some point. I'm hoping people really take to heart what you said because you've given us some jewels and nuggets to help those who are married, those who are considering divorce, those who are in whatever. You've given us really good advice, and I want to thank you for being with us this evening.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm glad that I could join you and anytime.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Mhm. Bye.